I'm about to eat at the cafe part of 72 Juta, which is called Post, and it's pretty hipster. There's a flat white, which is the true sign of hipster. There's a copy of a Monocle magazine right next to me, and I'm about to have a Greek salad. It looks delicious. Afterwards, I'm luckily been able to interview Adam, who's the man behind the whole project, which is really exciting and really, really lucky.
My name is Adam, and I own a lot of the buildings around Braamfontein. I've been there for 8 years, and a lot of what I'm doing is geared toward the creative industry. So we're not reinventing a wheel, but we're trying to do it in a unique, dynamic South African way. A lot of people left the city about 20 years ago, and they all retreated into the suburbs. And what I'm trying to do now is slowly try and reinforce this concept of city lifestyle, and about, you know, reclaiming old brownfield developments, and about getting young people back into the city, living in the same buildings, working in the same environments, playing in the same spaces. I own the Alexander Theatre. The Alexander Theatre is an old, beautiful, basically a historical theatre that was built in 1951, and it was shut down for about 10 or 15 years. So when the city went through this transformation, people abandoned the city and moved out to the suburbs. A lot of these buildings just kind of fell into disrepair, and so the theatre is something that I've owned for about 6 or 7 years now, and before I bought it, it had been closed for probably 10 or 11 years, and that was only on the back of the fact that people didn't want to come out to the city. So I mean, there wasn't a culture for theatre. People weren't really interested, and it opened to huge fanfare, and it harked back to this bygone time, and people were very nostalgic about it. What I came to understand is that there was a huge amount of energy that was expended in trying to reassure a generation that was familiar with the city that things were happening, that there was a change happening, that improvement was coming. There's this little development over here which opened up in November of last year, which is 15 little creative retail stores, and there's some really exciting things that are coming here. Like, I also have an arrangement with up-and-coming guys that I'll do like a little pop-up lease. We're doing some very exciting, innovative, interesting things here to try and drive people into the area. There's a corner building of mine now which has the Stevenson Gallery, and just above is the French Institute, and they are responsible for all cultural activities in South Africa, which is really exciting because they're doing all sorts of different associations with France, and they're going to be doing a little French festival here next year, and the year after they're going to do a South African festival in France. So they're like brilliant little synergies that are starting to be created, and there's a community over here that are very passionate about what's going on. The things that are happening like in the next couple of months are the Milner Park Hotel, which is this beautiful historical 1888 landmark building behind you, which is the second oldest operating bar in Johannesburg, which is highly, like, this thing's so authentic you could never wish to replicate, you could never even try. And then in front of my building next to the residential block we're starting to build in the next 2 weeks. It's all being prefabricated off-site. Is the new Nike concept store, which is pretty cool and pretty big for Braamfontein. Then there's this big building across the road, which I love because it's got this amazing designed concrete frieze on the side. It looks like Zaya did build this building. In the next 12 weeks, which is really around the corner, it's going to basically be the High Line of Johannesburg. So the neighbour goods market, who are the guys who are responsible for the neighbour goods market, the biscuit mall in Woodstock in Cape Town, which has become a huge success and has basically been the catalyst to transforming the whole of Woodstock. We're doing this in partnership, and that's going to be opened up probably at the end of June, beginning of July. And we'll start with 50 vendors, and it'll move to 100 vendors. We'll start every Saturday. And what I've come to understand about this is that the city is for tomorrow, the city is for the future, and the city's for young people.